I'll be talking about Section 5.6, Applications from Geometry and Statistics. The objectives of this section are to look at the parts of a circle and the circumference and area of a circle, find the area of composite shapes, which is like a rectangle and a triangle put together, or things like that. And then we're going to look at the Pythagorean theorem, and then we're going to move to statistics, the mean, median, and the mode, and a weighted mean and a GPA. Right, so first we're going to talk about circles. Alright, so first the parts of a circle. So the center is just called the center, and the diameter goes through the center and from one side to the other, and the radius is half the diameter. It just goes from the edge to the center. The circumference is the distance around. Alright, here are some variables that you need to know. The radius is a small r. The diameter is a small d, which is 2 times r, of course, because the diameter is twice as long as the radius. The circumference is a large C. The area is a large A. The equations that you'll see are circumference equals pi times d, and since d is 2 times r, then it also equals 2 pi r. So you can replace the d with the 2 and the r, and we usually write it in this order. Area equals pi r squared, and I believe there was a typo in your notes, so there was a 2 here, and you need to remove that, so just cross it out. So it's just pi r squared. Alright, so moving on from there, we're going to use those formulas. So we're being asked to find the exact circumference of the given circle and then approximate the circumference using 3.14 as an approximation for pi. So remember, pi goes on forever, so when we turn pi into 3.14, that's called an approximation because we've rounded it, so it's not going to be exact. So an exact answer has pi in it, and an approximation uses 3.14. So that's going to be something you'll want to know in the homework. Alright, so I'm going to do A, and I'm going to have you do B. So they're asking us for the circumference. The circumference is 2 pi r, and in this case we've got 2 pi times the radius. Now this is the diameter. This is d right here. So that means the radius is half of that, which is 3.5 inches. So make sure you use the right thing, don't put d in there. Or you can use the formula pi times d and not have to split it in half. So in this case, you would use 3.5 times 3.5. And in this case, instead of 2 times 3.5, you would just use pi times 7. And the way we would then write that is 7 pi. We usually put the number before the pi. Alright, so 7 pi is the first answer. The second answer is to put 3.14 in for pi. So we've got 7 times 3.14. So that's going to give us, if you put it in your calculator, 21.98 inches. Right? So that is going to be the approximation. So you know what? I'm going to erase this, and I'm going to put approximately equal to. So when you've rounded, you need to say it's approximate. And I'm going to erase this box right here because I want to say inches. So you need to put units on things. Alright, so why don't you go ahead and do B, and I'm going to pause my video and I'm going to put the answer down, and then you can compare your answer to mine. Okay, so here's the answer to B. 5 feet is the radius, so you're going to put 5 in and 2 pi r. You get 10 pi feet. 10 pi feet. And then if you want an approximate answer, and again I need to say approximate, I need to get in the habit of doing that, so we get approximately 31.4 feet. This next question asks us to find the exact area of a given circle. So exact means we're going to be using pi in the answer, and approximate means we're going to be approximating using 3.14 instead of pi. So we'll have 2 answers for each one. Alright, so the first one, we're going to make sure you write your formula. So start with area equals pi r squared. So we'll start with area. So area equals pi r squared. So this is going to be pi times 9 squared. That is going to equal 81 pi. and the unit is feet squared. So be careful when you're talking about area, it becomes feet squared. So 81 pi feet squared. So then we want to find the approximate area. 81 pi is 81 times 3.14. So that is going to give us 254.34 feet squared. Okay, 254.34 feet squared. That's a 4. Okay, next I'd like you guys to try this one. And I want you to pay attention to the unit and notice that this is D, not R. So what is R? So you're going to have to find R and start with your formula. Okay, so try this one and then come back and check your answer. So first you need to find that the radius is 6, and you're going to use that in the formula. Area equals pi r squared. And so area equals pi times 6 squared, which is 36 pi inches squared. So square inches, that's area. And then that approximates to 113.04. So this is finding area of composite shapes. Every one is different, so you just have to work these out like a puzzle, where every puzzle is different. So we want the area of this whole thing. So notice we have a rectangle here. So the area of the rectangle is going to be the length times the width, or the length times the height, however you want to see that. And you get 16 times 10. That's going to be 160 square inches. Okay. Then the area of, now I want you to notice that this is 2 half circles. There's a half of a circle and there's a half of a circle. And you put those together and you get one whole circle with a radius of 4, because the diameter is 8. Okay, so it's got a radius of 4. So the area of this equals pi r squared. So that's going to be the area of the circle. The 2 half circles put together, right? A circle. All right, so we get pi times 4 squared. So that gives us 16 pi. All right, so that we can have 2 different answers here. So the area of the whole thing is going to be the area of the rectangle plus the area of the circle. So 160 inches squared. Oh, by the way, this is inches squared. 160 inches squared plus 16 pi. That's going to be the exact answer if they wanted it an exact answer. But you're probably going to work it out and say 160 plus 16 times 3.14. And that is going to give you, just put the whole thing in a calculator, and you get 210.24 inches squared. So I recommend writing a little less down and putting as much in your calculator as you can. And if you put this in your calculator in this order, it's going to use order of operations, and it's going to do it correctly. Okay, I'd like for you to try this one. You're going to need the area of a trapezoid and the area of a triangle. So I'm going to give you those. Area of a trapezoid and the area of a triangle. The area of a trapezoid was in one of the previous sections, and it is 1/2 a plus b. In other words, the average of the top and the bottom is what you're finding there. 1/2 of a plus b is the average, times the height. And the area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Okay, so why don't you give this a shot? And what they're saying here is that this triangle is removed from the area of the trapezoid. So first you need to find the area of the trapezoid to be 105 feet, and then the area of the triangle is 22.5 feet squared. 22.5 feet squared. And then you're going to say that the area total is the area of the trapezoid minus the area of the triangle. So 105 minus 22.5 is 82.5 square feet. The next topic is using the Pythagorean theorem, and I just wanted to remind you of a few things. This is a right triangle. Remember, a right triangle has this symbol right here, means that it's a right angle or a 90-degree angle. Okay, so one of the sides has to be right angle. The side opposite the right angle right there, that's called the hypotenuse, and it is always the longest. Always longest. Okay? And it's only called that if it's directly across from a 90-degree angle. The other two are called the legs. So the Pythagorean theorem looks like this, and there's lots of proofs of this and some kind of cool animations that you can see of how this was figured out and proven by many people over the centuries. I think our book even has a great animation of this. So if you call the legs A and B, and the hypotenuse, which is directly across from the right angle, C, then this side, A squared plus B squared, always equals C squared. Okay, so we're going to use this in a variety of ways to figure out these problems. All right, so find the length of the unknown side of the right triangle. If the answer is not a whole number, we're supposed to approximate it to 1 decimal place. So let's keep that in mind. We have to approximate. Okay, so this first one we've got 5 and 12 are the legs, so we're going to call this side A, and this side B, and this side C. Okay, so the hypotenuse is always C. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So A squared is going to be 5 squared plus 12 squared is the B squared equals C squared. Okay, so we've got 25 plus 144 equals C squared. So I'm going to just switch the sides here, and I'm going to say C squared equals 169. So I just added those two together. I'm going to take the square root. Square root of both sides is how you solve this problem. So you're going to get C equals, and we've looked at the idea that it's plus or minus, but of course we can't have a negative length of a side, so it's just going to be the positive choice. Inches. So it's just a length. It's not squared. It's just inches because it's a length of a side. All right, I'll do one more. All right, we're going to call this one A and this one B. A and B don't really matter. You can choose whichever one, but you always have to choose the hypotenuse to be C. So we've got A squared plus B squared equals C squared. So A squared is unknown plus 6 squared equals 9 squared. So A squared plus 36 equals 81. So now I want you to look at that and think about what you would do. We're going to subtract 36 from both sides. And I get A squared equals 45. So now we have to find the square root of both sides. And we're going to find that A is then just the square root of 45. Which, if you put that in your calculator, is about, I'm going to round it to, because it's 6.66 I believe, and it goes on forever, so 6.7 is what that rounds to feet. And they wanted us to go to 1 decimal place. Okay, so make sure we go to 1 decimal place and we get 6.7 feet. All right, now you try it. Okay, so this one is for you. There's 2 problems here actually, and you're going to solve for the unknown side. So remember to label them A, B, and C. Use the Pythagorean theorem and solve for the unknown. Okay, so hopefully you tried these because you don't learn from watching math, you learn from doing it. So the first one, you should get 17 feet for the hypotenuse, and for the last one, you should get 8.9 inches. So remember to double check when you get an answer, your hypotenuse should always be longer than the 2 legs.